So we're here at the Academy Outdoors and Sports Rigs and Techniques, Dave.
That's a mouthful, yes, sir.
Certainly at the CCA workbench is where it all goes down, and man, it is loaded tonight.
Yeah, well, you know, I brought a bunch of stuff, and like I said, one of the things you want to do when you go wade fishing is trim back on the stuff, because you're going to be out of the boat. You're going to be, you know, you're not going to have a big tackle box on your back. I guess you could wear a backpack nowadays. All the fellas are doing that kind of thing.
Yep.
But that was more, when I was doing it, I was more having a kind of a wading belt like this. And when you buy one of these things, what you got to watch out for is right when you first go to buy one, not only do they allow you to keep a rod, you know, put a rod holder, it has a rod holder on it, but you know, they also help your back. You know, when you're out there wading and standing up and casting for a long time, if you get that thing tight around your back, it'll really help your lower back problems like I have. Well, one thing you have to do is right away is you need to replace the box that usually comes with these things, because very seldom do they have a waterproof box like this. You know, you want to make sure you have something that will clamp down and has an O-ring on it and will keep all your stuff dry.
Right, I gotcha.
You know, luckily in Florida we got great wading places. You know, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look for a place where you have some semi-firm bottom. You know, you don't want to be fighting mud all day, and there's places in the Mosquito Lagoon over here where I've literally sank in mud up to my armpits, which is not only unpleasant, it's very dangerous if you're by yourself, you know, because you could just walk off into a place and get stuck. And I was actually stuck to the point where my buddy had to lay on his belly and come out and get me. And then we got into his really nice car and drove home, but we didn't ruined it because we had that black Mosquito Lagoon mud all over us. But just be careful when you're choosing a place. Ask around, see if people have been there before. You know, test it out a little bit before you just go tromping off in there, because there are places where you don't want to be.
Now the water gets chilly in the winter, so
Well,
you know, pair of waders?
Luckily in Florida, you know, we don't have a whole lot of cold water, but it's all cold to me once it gets under 72 degrees, and that does do that. So if in the wintertime, let's say from you know, December through up until February, sometimes even October, November, as the water gets a little cold, you're gonna have to get some decent waders that are thick and waterproof, and that you can wear maybe a pair of sweatpants on underneath.
Correct.
Normally, if you don't have the money to buy some of these Sim stuff, which are really nice and long lasting, you can buy those. You can go to Walmart or one of those little dollar stores, and sometimes in the fishing section they'll have those little plastic rubber waders, and you can wear those with a pair of sweatpants underneath, and those will be just as good for like 2 or 3 trips. You know, they cost like 10 or 15 bucks, and they're good for 2 or 3 trips. And about the 4th trip, you're going to find out you got a leak.
And those are socks waders, right? So you got to get a pair of shoes for those?
Correct. You're always going to wear, I used to wear high top Converses on top of mine, but
of course you did.
Yeah, that's what I had. And then I went to dive boots. You know, once I started diving, I figured, hey, these dive boots are really cool. Well, they're cool up to a point. Most dive boots stick to your feet really good, and you can get foot compression if you're in deeper water. If you get up into, you know, waist deep water and your feet are down there, they squeeze, and you can get cramps in your feet by wearing those things. So I like a good structured shoe now. I wear these soft science ones. What's really good about them is the zipper's on the outside instead of the inside, so you can get them off real easy, and they have the locking clasp at the top, so you don't leave them in the mud. If you get into any mud,
and you can pull this tight to keep the rocks out.
Yeah, keep the sand and stuff out, and you know, they're really good at lightweight and draining. That's the good thing about them.
They dry real fast, and you spray them down with the hose when you get done.
Right now, when you're out there, you're going to want a good 7-foot rod, preferably. Maybe, you know, I like to use braided line so I can get really long casts. This has monofilament on it, which is, there ain't nothing wrong with using monofilament. A lot of guys use braid, but mono's good too. I use like a 20-pound leader, and that's good enough for just about every redfish and trout I encounter in the Indian River, Mosquito Lagoon areas. You know, you're gonna want to have a good stringer. You know, if you're planning on keeping a couple fish, and if it's in the summertime and there's a lot of sharks around, you might want a long stringer. You know, keep that stuff away from you. And if a shark does come and get your stringer, don't fight the shark over the stringer.
No.
Let the shark have it, because you know, once he's finished with that, he might come and eat you. You know, you want to get a good pair of gloves. You know, if you're out there handling fish, you might not need them because you got those alligator hands. But normal people would like to, you know, have some kind of hand protection. A nice fish gripper is a good thing to have, so you can control a fish in the water. Again, you're not going to be able to flop them into the boat. You're going to be in the water with them. A good pair of cutters or pliers that are stainless steel or aluminum. There's something that won't corrode to nothing over 2 trips, which is kind of hard to find these days. You know, you got to find some good aluminum ones. And you know, I like to, when I'm fishing these kind of things, a lot of the baits that I use are fast baits. I'm searching a lot of times. If I'm not seeing a mullet or bait on the surface, you're usually just walking and casting, walking and casting. So the gold spoon is one of my favorites to use. Any kind of MirrOlure Top Dog or the Mirodine Now, which is one of my favorites. That Mirodine catches everything. And of course, the chug bug. I love the chug bug. If I'm fishing, I have a chug bug on me.
You're
somewhere.
shaking those alligator hands over
Hopefully
there,
not
Dave.
in my ear.
He's shaking my alligator
He
hand.
slid that in there so slick.
Yeah,
Didn't even give you
you
a
know.
chance to respond or
I'm
anything.
good at that.
Kathy's
You're good
the
at
only
that.
one that loves my hand.
I
Yeah.
know, it's
That-
true. Well,